The world that we now live in came about through blood, greed, and lies. The world was going back to black with the return of the Moors, and the clear countries were not having it. The old religions as well as Islam and other pagan beliefs were regaining popularity. Papal or being ruled by a pope was not going over so well. Hence, the Crusades. The Crusades were literally a power grab, almost like the scramble for Africa in the 1800s, but they didn't have a meeting about it. After a pretty quick victory over the non-Christians, the Crusaders that stayed to enjoy the spoils of war and spread God's word for about 50 years once again found themselves under attack by those who didn't believe as they. Jerusalem was taken in 1187 by the great Saladin, and a few years later, the fight for God's will was back on. The so-called Third Crusade is probably the most popular. There have been many tales, books, and movies about the great Saladin and King Richard the Lionheart. The Fourth Crusade was brought about by a pope named Pope Innocent III. The need to recapture the Holy City in order to restore the people's faith, money, and unquestionable obedience in God's power was an absolute priority. Joining forces with those he once opposed, the set off on retaking God's power. So now we have one God and one story. Mind you, this story follows the pattern of so many others that came before it, but to even question it is death. So where did the world really start? They want you to believe it started with the birth of Jesus, or with Greece and Rome. How about with Christopher Columbus, or the so-called discover and exploitation of the motherland? If one is taught that they are the creators of the world and they come from a proud history, why would they believe anything different? If one is taught that they only exist because the creators of the world saved them from a backwards, primitive culture, why would they believe anything different? When someone says, in the beginning, just remember, it's not always the beginning. Just theirs.